I learned on my mission that, well, I think we all know this, that miracles do happen and that this really is the Lord's work. And I learned very strongly that missionaries are truly servants of the Lord, and they can perform miracles. And I remember in my second area, we had been there, I think it had been 3 months, and we hadn't had any baptisms, and the area hadn't had baptisms in a year. And before that, they had only had one in they had only had one baptism in the last 2 years. And I think the members were kind of losing faith in the missionaries, and I remember the mission president was just on fire this particular transfer, and he wanted to meet a certain number of baptisms. And the zone leaders came up to me and my companion and said, Hermanas, we really need you to baptize 5 people this transfer. And we didn't have 5 people lined up. We had been working with a lot of different people, but they just weren't making any progress, and we would drop them, then find new people. It was pretty difficult. So for them to come and say to us, we need 5 people, was kind of like, whoa. But me and my companion decided that if our leaders felt that that was what the Lord wanted us to do, then we would do it. And we kind of made, it was really silly, we kind of made kind of like a title of liberty thing, like Moroni did, and we hung it up on our wall and said, we will, in the name of our God or whatever, we will baptize 5 people. Anyways, so we went out and we called all the members, and we said, we need you to pray for these. We wrote down names that we thought would be most likely. We need you to pray for these 5 people that they will be baptized by this date. And so and we want you to pray at 9:30 every night, because that's when we will be praying. So they all committed to pray at 9:30 every night for these 5 names. And I can't remember what happened. One of them dropped. She was out of the picture. She hid from us. She just didn't want us to come see her. And but we decided to go through old records to see if there was anybody who had gotten close to being baptized but didn't. And there was a lady named Carmen. So we went to her house and we knocked on her door and we met her, and she said, come back tomorrow at this time. So we went back and she wasn't there. But her son was there, and he answered the door. He's like, my mom's not here. Come back later. And we were walking down, and the Spirit said very strongly, go turn around and go invite him to be baptized. And we had only talked to him for 2 minutes. So we did. We turned around and we said, will you be baptized on this date? And he said, yeah, I'd like to be baptized. And his mom it was a testimony to her that God hears her prayers, because she had been praying for him. He had gotten into drugs and girlfriends, and he cleaned up and got baptized. And so that was miracle number 1. Miracle number 2 was these investigators. They had been investigating the church for about 7 years, but the husband refused to marry her. They were living together. He refused to marry her. And we decided that it was time for them to get baptized. So we prayed really hard, and we went and talked to them. And he was known for kicking out the missionaries. He thought that the missionaries didn't know a thing, even though he had a testimony of the gospel and he went to church every Sunday. But we went there, and I don't even remember what we said. I just know that I think the Spirit spoke through us, and it wasn't what we had planned to say. But a week or 2 later, he dropped everything, went and finalized a divorce. They spent all their money for the month and they had to live off of potatoes. But he took that money, he went to Buenos Aires, which is like, I think it's like a 2-day bus ride. Finalized a divorce that he had to take care of, came home, they got married, and they got baptized. And it was funny because the bishop, I told him that they were going to get baptized on that date, and he laughed at me. He said, I won't believe it till they're in the baptismal font. And I said, Bishop, they're going to get baptized. We're praying for it, and the Lord wants them to. And he came and shook my hand when they got baptized and said, okay, now I believe it. So that was 3 people. The 4th one, we actually found a less active family. The 4th and 5th one. We found a less active family that they hadn't been letting the missionaries come, and they hadn't come to church for a long time. But we went, and the same thing happened again. We had planned a lesson, but something else came out. It was exactly what they needed. They all started coming to church, and then 2 of their children that hadn't been baptized got baptized. And it truly was a miracle, and the Lord did it. We didn't do it. We were just willing to be obedient and have faith and to say what we needed to say. I think we had to be bold in a lot of, we had to be very bold, especially with the family that needed to get married. And actually the first counselor in the bishopric, he came up to us and he said, sisters, I want you to know that I prayed every single night for those people, for the 5 baptisms, and I know that the Lord works miracles. And he just bore his testimony to us, and that made me feel so great. So that's the first really important thing that I learned on my mission, is that miracles do happen. And you just have to be obedient and work hard and say what the Lord tells you to say.